Shalom, and welcome back to another podcast of Jenna Loves Allah, SWT. So glad you could join me. I hope that your week has been very good, and mashallah for that. I am going to talk to you today about making meaningful friendships. It seems these days that everybody has likes and friends and things on the different social medias, but hardly anybody is making new, lasting friendships in their adult life. The reason being is twofold. We have, as children, different developmental stages that we go through and have shared experiences with our peers. So we make really long-lasting and enduring friendships during that time, provided that we remain in contact as the years go by. As adults, because of the different stresses that we encounter, the different professional movements and things like that, we tend to drift apart or grow apart. And this makes it very difficult to stay in touch with old friends or have that same level of connection that you once had. Now, the social medias are there to, or at least they tell us that we can stay in contact and everything will be hunky-dory. But I've traveled a lot and I know that it's not quite the same as being able to actually get together. And only the bestest of friendships can really go for a long hiatus and then just pick up where you left off after years of separation. So, what I want to talk about then is how it is so important for us to actually get together and make time for one another with real life interactions. Now, as a revert, the first place that I look for this is the mosque. It's where, as a Christian, I would have made contacts anytime I'd move into a new area. I would go to Bible studies or youth groups or whatever was the age-appropriate connection I could participate in, do volunteer work, things like that. At the mosques, I'm finding it's really, really difficult, particularly for a woman, because first off, the closest mosque to me doesn't really have a lot of women. I think there might be a few that show up on a Friday, but during the week it's completely void of them, and there doesn't seem to be any programs there at all. Now, my husband and I have found another mosque, which is quite a distance from us and a little hard to get to sometimes, that does have women there. I did strike up a conversation with a girl one time when we were locked out because they have limited parking and they break up their prayer times into two groups in order to accommodate everybody because of the parking situation. So we were locked out of the one and waiting for the second one, and we got into a conversation. We exchanged phone numbers, but we haven't really connected since then, partially as I haven't called her either, but part of the problem is I don't know when I'll be available to get out to actually arrange a time to meet her, and that's a transportation issue that I have right now. But the thing is, we need to actually go out of our way to make connections. A club for reverts would be a really good thing to set up in the mosques, just so that people could introduce themselves and have a welcome committee where maybe people could volunteer within the group to get connections and find out where people live in general proximity to one another and be able to spend time together. It's especially important when you're coming in and you don't even know the language. Now, some mosques, they speak a whole nother language. Fundamentally, you'll find that mosques are very much, the funds to put them together are often raised by particular communities. So although they may speak Arabic for the actual prayers, they speak another language altogether amongst themselves, and it's not English. So it becomes very difficult for somebody trying to make a connection. The larger mosques are better because you have a wider range of languages and they're more apt to have a lot of English speakers there. So it makes it a lot easier for us to find the means to learn. Some do have English classes or English to Arabic classes. We could maybe set up amongst the reverts some sort of language exchange program that we could get together and actually spend time with one another, speaking Arabic on one side and English on the other, and teaching each other the little nuances of the language that either side won't know. These are just suggestions, but the biggest thing that we have to do is actually make a concerted effort to go and talk to one another. You see a new face, go and talk to them. Heck, if you're not somebody who usually goes up and talks to somebody else and you just want to make friends, it's up to you to take that step to do it. Just walk up to somebody and say hello. I find it, as a revert, exceptionally hard because I don't necessarily know if that person is even going to speak English at all. And so I find myself smiling and not really doing a lot of interaction with people necessarily because they might not speak English. But I do try when I can. The one mosque that I've been to that's been well populated, the most interaction I actually had with anybody was twofold. The first day I went in there, I had somebody correct my deen because I had some nail polish on my toes, and I was like, oh no. You know, and this is something that coming from a Christian background we're not used to. It seems like somebody's being really nitpicky. If I had just been handed something to clean them off, it would have been a lot easier to handle being told, oh, you shouldn't do that. But you know, you get used to it. And I didn't make the mistake twice. But my second time in there, and since really the only interactions I've had have been with the children. There's been like little kids running around, and maybe their mother would be like, kind of like sorry or pulling her kid away, and I'm like, just leave it, just smile towards her or whatnot. Not you can see a smile, but my eyes usually show it, and I don't wear the sunglasses when I'm not in front of this big light, so it's okay. I got into a conversation before and after prayer with a couple of young girls in another mosque that I went to. That was during the week. There was a class that I joined up to see if I could get some more interaction with people. And the kids were quite open to just jump in, and I was new, and start conversing with me. And that's great. I wish more adults would do that. I mean, I probably look a little weird because I'm standing around afterwards, talking to these kids. And I love kids, and these are pre-teenage children, so they're, a little bit older than little kids. So the conversation is all right, and I would love to work with them and do some sports with them and stuff like that, but it's not really what I want in the conversation. I want a conversation with adults. I want to be able to learn from adults. But at least the children were willing to come up to me and talk to me, and I know that they speak English, so there was no language barrier, and we just got into a conversation, and we've since talked to one another anytime we've seen each other. So what I'm saying is it's really hard for reverts to connect for people. So if you're not a revert and you go to your mosque and you see somebody in there that you don't know, please try to make the effort to say hello, get into a conversation. But more than that, if you've got any free time at all, suggest meeting up with these people, a get together, spend some time together, because it's a community more than anything that we need to, excuse me, my throat's dry, to really make a connection within Islam. We call each other sisters, and we're supposed to be like this big happy family. But when the only time that you see somebody and is in a mosque and it's for like 5 minutes and you barely get looked at, let alone a conversation, you don't feel like you belong to a family. And it's a really big change for reverts. So it's something that I'm just imploring everybody out there to do your thing. And if you're a revert who's been at it for a while, please, you know what everybody's going through. See if you can set something up. See if you can set something up within your mosque to make a program for people to do language exchanges or anything. Spend time together, volunteer work, whatever we can do to help the community and to help one another to feel like a family. We always had big dinners and stuff like that in the Christian settings, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of that within the Muslim community. Maybe there is in some areas, but it's something that's definitely needed, helped. There's so many traditions, so many things that have to be learned, and the best way to learn them is by doing them. So if we can do this and work together, I think we can make Islam even more beautiful than it already is, and really grow the family, really grow the community, and really strengthen the bonds that tie us together. So then it's not just worshiping Allah through our words, but worshiping Allah through our life and our living. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening to what I had to say today. And hopefully you'll have a wonderful week. Until next time, ciao.